Yeah. So, one second. How can I? Okay, here we go. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us live, and those who will be watching the replay. And thank you, Michelle, for this amazing opportunity. I'm really excited to talk about story structures today. And those who don't know me, my name is Suhasini Gupta, and I'm author of my upcoming picture book, Kai Poche, Mini's Perfect Kite, which will be releasing next month. Yay! And this is, I'm not sure if you can see, this is Mini. Okay, I don't think so. It's showing. Okay, this is Mini, and I have their puppets, but I don't think so it's showing. That's Bhai. Bhai means in Hindi, it's elder brother, and that's Mini. Um, that's a character from my book. So, hello once again. Uh, I'll be talking about story structure, and this is the agenda. A little bit about me, inspiration, different types of story structure. How did the idea uh, came, and how I executed into a story, and then followed by Devika's presentation and Q&A. So I was born and raised in India, and that's me, 3 year old. And currently, I live in Houston, Texas, with my husband and two kids. English is my second language, and believe it or not, I didn't even like reading. I was not even a reader as a child. The stories that I came across were either too preachy or had advanced vocabulary, and also didn't have access to picture books, so didn't really got into a habit of reading. So instead, I chose to pursue masters. I mean engineering. I did my bachelor's in manufacturing engineering and masters in MIS from University of Houston. So I don't really have a traditional writing background. I mostly write diverse stories with elements of STEM in it, and that's the cover of my picture book. And this is a story about Makar Sankranti, an Indian festival of kites, where little girl Minnie, she wants to fly her own kite, but her elder brother thinks that kites are not for little girls. Okay, so here's the interesting thing. There was a turning point in my life where I got inclined towards reading. So in my junior year of my bachelor's, my roommate, she insisted me to read this book called Five Point Someone, written by Chetan Bhagat. So this story really resonated deeply with me because the characters were experiencing academic pressure while pursuing engineering, and there was so much drama and mystery throughout that kept me hooked until the end of the story. And this book literally changed my perception about reading and the power of storytelling. And later, this this was also made into a blockbuster Bollywood movie called Three Idiots. And if you have not watched this movie, I would really recommend you start here. So, yeah, and so even after I started reading a bit, I had no plans to become writer until my second child came along. So I have two kids. My daughter Alia, she is an avid reader. She loves book. I mean, she can skip her breakfast and food, but not reading. Whereas my son, like until couple of years, he absolutely hated books. So as a parent, I realized how important early literacy is. So I that became a number one mission for me to help my son develop love for reading. So since I already knew the formula, I modified the approach and I tried to on him. So I started making a lot of stories with characters I thought he might resonate with, and just as I hoped it worked, and he kept asking me more stories. So that's how it all began. And that's a picture of my parents. They are my role models. My dad, he uh, he literally taught me hard work and discipline, and these are the some skills that really helped me to learn this new craft of writing and be persistent in revising the stories. And my mom, she's a cancer survivor, so she taught me how to be she literally showed me how to be resilient and compassion, and that qualities really helped me to write stories that connect with the readers, and how to handle rejections. And that's my husband. He's my biggest cheerleader, and fortunately or unfortunately, my first critic, because he gets to read all my stories and critic them. And that's my brother. Unlike me, he is an avid reader too. So the reason so as you can see, there are two sets of siblings here, and so this showed me that, I deeply connect with sibling relationship and the chemistry that really resonated with me as a writer. So subconsciously, my first picture book ended up being a sibling story, and I didn't realize until I was making this presentation. And not only this, I also realized that most of my stories revolve around sibling stories. So that's crazy. So next. So at first, when I started writing, my stories were completely random, but that's when I decided to learn the craft of writing, and writing meaningful and well structured stories, which can connect to the readers better. So, as you know, that ideas are everywhere, but what really makes a story better is execution, and that's where story structure comes in. So there are different pictures uses different structures to create a rhythm, tension, and emotion. Okay. So, what is story structure and story elements? So, these are two things which actually make stories. So, story elements are building blocks to create stories. So, if you have to ask who are the characters, what do they want, where is the setting, and all these questions will make elements. For example, characters, setting, plot, conflict, theme, point of view, mood, tone. Whereas story structure is the framework of the story. So, how is the story told? So, one of the example is classic three-act structure or traditional structure. So we'll be talking about all these story structures today in detail. And for this presentation, I'm using Mighty Kidlit author's book, Nomrod books, and some classic reads. So cumulative, cumulative stories. As the name suggests, each element builds on the previous one to escalate the situation, and the repetition makes it exaggerate, humorous, or intense. And the predictable patterns adds to engaging and fun read aloud. So, for example, Stuck, I'm sure, I'm pretty sure you all know all these stories. So, it's, Stuck, the boy, the boy in this story, he repeatedly throws objects into the tree to try to free his kite. And each attempts add to the accumulation of items stuck in the tree, escalating to the absurdity. So this is a very silly take. I obviously don't understand how he's throwing the boat house and and other heavy objects onto the tree. But yeah, that adds to the silliness, and it's very kid imaginative. Similarly, the napping house, written by Audrey Wood, it's a story about a cozy bed followed by snoring granny, dreaming child, dozy dog, etc. until the bed breaks and nobody is sleeping, right? And then we have Stuck, the story of Labria Tarpits, written by Joyce Oglo, who is a Kidlit member, of course. So this is an amazing story, non-fictional story, and she very well smartly used cumulative structure here to create the intensity in the story. Also, she used lyrical elements here. In this story, for tens and millions of thousands of years, animals and plants, they fall into this tar pit and gets trapped until finally they are retrieved as fossils. So wonderfully done. If you haven't read the story, please, I would recommend to read it. And then we have My Piano, written by Jan Fier. It's a Nomrod book, and this one is also very well done because obviously she's using cumulative structure here to talk about piano, how it is built from bass to frame to keys and etc. At the same time, she used multiple structure here because that adds to depth and layer and emotions. And she is using other structures here like rhyming and concept book because it talks about piano. Next, we have concept, as I was mentioning. It mainly focuses on central idea or topic rather than on a traditional plot. It may or may not have a traditional plot. So, for example, like central idea like shapes, colors, seasons, emotions, etc. They are good for writing non-fictional and or informational fiction books. So we have Love Will Turn You Around, written by Mary Munson. It talks about shapes and emotions. And as you all know, the Hungry Caterpillar by Eric Carle. Um, it talks about life cycle of a butterfly, and concept of days and numbers. And Trung Goes Thunk talks about opposites. The Color of Monster is an emotional story. And I came across this book, Too Many Pigs in the Pool, only last month. It's written by Wendy. This talks about math concept of doubling the numbers, and it also has a story arc, a fun and humorous way where pigs are swimming in the pool, and chaos happens. So a wonderful picture book to read. Next, we have How to Guide Story Structure. This focuses on teaching the reader a process to accomplish something. Title may or may not have how to, but it hints at the problem, and it often blends with creativity and humor with step-by-step approach. So How to Dress a Dinosaur. Last month we have Robin Curie as a author, featured author, and I'm sure many of you have read and pre-ordered this book. So this one is a fun. It teaches a fussy child who doesn't want to dress up through dinosaurs. If a bumblebee lands on your toe, I think this is releasing next month. It's written by Cynthia Mackey, and this talks about how to embrace your fears. How to Hatch a Reader is a Gnome Road book. It talks about teaching kids how to read through chickens, and there is a sneaky fox also. There is a humor in that. And then there is another kite flying book written by Grace Lane. It talks about how to fly your kite and how to make it. So these are the fun. These are some fun books I came across. And do feel free to comment if you know any other Mighty Kidlet authors book which fall into any of these categories, so others can read them. Then we have epistolary structure. So in this, mainly it's written in through letters, journal entries, etc. Mostly it's a back and forth between two characters, and because it's a letter, it's written in first POV. So you must be familiar with with the books like The Day the Crayons Quit. It came in the mail. These are very kid-like approach and humorous. Dear Mr. G is about loss and grief. So in this, the boy accidentally hits his ball into his neighbor's rose bush, and he thinks that Mr. G's bushes are ruined. So he quickly writes a letter to him, and that quickly turns into a friendship. So it's a fun, so different concept, different emotions, but they are all using a letter format. Rhyme and poems, well, as you know that it's written in rhyme. It's perfect for read aloud for young kids, repetitive, predictable, and it really enhance readability. The tricky part is obviously you need to be very careful of meter, and the story should drive the rhyme and not the other way around. So here are the few books that falls into this category. Hilton's Island, is illustrated by our host, Michelle Zimke. And I actually read this last month. I didn't know about this book. And it's a funny, nice, cute book. There's a dog, this cute dog. His name is Hilton, who accidentally slips away from his owner on the beach, where he meets lots of special animals until he realizes he is lost. And this is beautifully written in rhyme, and love the illustrations. And then we have More Than You Imagine. You know this book, written by Talia Hutchinson, and it's a story about unconditional parental love for children more than you can imagine, and animals in surprising shades, written by Susan Johnson Taylor. It's a Gnome Road book. It's a collection of poems about colorful creatures written in different poetic forms. Then we have a parallel story structure. I'm really intrigued with this one uh, because it involves two main characters, storylines, narratives either contrast or complement, and the resolution will unite the parallel journeys into a shared understanding, with enhancing the emotional depth. So, Perfect Match, to look into some examples, we'll see Perfect Match. It's a non-fictional story written by Laurie Dubin. It's a story about one black woman and one Jewish woman, Althea Gibson and Angela Buxton, who are denied from playing tennis. but later on they meet and partner to play in doubles. Then we have Over and Under the Snow, written by Kate Messner, again a non-fictional book, and she uses here prepositions to tell this parallel story of animals over and under the snow. A beautiful, beautiful book. And then similarly, we have The Sandwich Switch and Blueberries of for Sal. I think it's a classic book where I think uh, so the mother, Sal and his mother, and Bear and his cub, they go for this blueberry hunting on onto the hill, and somehow the kids get swapped, and now the babies need to find their own babies before they go back home. So wonderful, wonderful story structure. I love it. Others, well, I'm pretty sure there are many more structures are there outside, but here are a few more I try to cover. The Book with No Pictures, written by BJ Novak. This book, my son, he is obsessed with it. It breaks the fourth wall, acknowledging the reader's present, and it really improves the humor and their engagement. Then we have Elephant and Piggy series by Mo Willems, which is also very humorous story because it focuses on mostly dialogues and character interaction. So if you are planning to write dialogue driven books, this is something you can check it out. Then we have If You Give a Mouse a Cookie is another picture book which follows a structure called circular structure, which ends at the beginning and it feels like a full circle. And then finally, we have list structure, where a series of items, steps, or events listed in a sequential manner. For example, fry bread. So in that story, it says fry bread is a food, fry bread is a culture, fry bread is a religion, and then explain each one of them. So it's like a series of list. Then finally, we have classic 3-act picture book structure, which is also called as traditional structure. So in this, usually main character has a specific problem and then it tries to solve in three acts and then fails. Then it's a situation of no hope. Then finally, in an unexpected way, the main character resolves it. Then there is finally a twist at the end, and somehow it ties back in the beginning. So along the process, main character has grown internally and also resolved external conflict. So this is mostly good for character driven picture books. So these are few stories which fall into this category. The Memory Quilt, written by Lori Knitting. So although these books fall into this category, you'll be amazed how they are using different themes, because this Memory Quilt is showing grief, talking about grief and honoring love, whereas Curly Locks and the Hairs is a fun twist on fairy tale. Breath by Breath is a sibling story talking about breathing techniques and mindfulness. Kai Poche is a holiday story about kites, sibling story, and determination. And Humphrey the Explorer, it talks about talking egg, which is an in a sorry um about a talking
Why is
object,
she being the presenter?
about a talking object, and it's humorous and
Suhasini Gupta.
sorry. Sorry, sorry about that. So the Humphrey Egg Explorer is talking about a talking egg where this egg wants to explore the whole world without cracking. So these are a fun. These are few fun stories which fall into this structure. So uh, I'm sure you're going to research on it, and it's really great. Then we have. I'm going to talk a little bit about how the idea came about Kai Poche. So this happened after COVID in 2023. So we had planned to take our kids to this Indian Kite Festival, but we missed it, and that disappoint. But I was so disappointed about that I could not let it go. And so usually in kite battles, so when you cut someone else's kite, you yell "Kai Poche." That means I have cut your kite. It's like a victory chant. right? But what about the person who has lost his kite? The disappointment of that person who was flying his kite for so long and now lost it. So that disappointment, that emotion kind of stuck with me, and this title was born. So if we hadn't missed this event that day, Kaipucha wouldn't exist right now. So idea to execution. So I knew why I wanted to write this story, because I wanted to deal with this emotion of disappointment of losing a kite or missing an event or any kind of rejections in life you get, right? You get a disappointment. And then also I knew that I want to write a sibling story about kite flying, but I was not sure how to write it. And that's what, after researching, I obviously know, because I came to decide that I want to take approach of traditional story arc. So in this, the problem is Minnie wants to fly her own kite, but her brother thinks she's too small and makes fun of her. So Act 1, she tries to prove him wrong. Minnie uses her creativity and builds a not so perfect kite, but fails to fly it. Act 2, she
Neil's here
tries
early.
again and again, but keep failing. But this determination creates an unexpected shift in sibling bond. Now, if you see, although it has a traditional arc, but you see here is a parallel structure also, because initially there is a contrast and then there is a shift in sibling bond. Okay. And then Act 3, there is a tension. A kite attacker cuts the brother's kite. And in resolution, Minnie's determination, courage is tested. And obviously, I'm not going to reveal this story, the end of the story. So you got to read it and find it out what happens. So the final thought, the main character is going to grow internally through a new self-discovery, and the external conflict of will be resolved, like the brother's skepticism and the kite attacker. It will be resolved. The themes it portrays are
Yeah, I guess I wasn't fast enough.
themes will be portrayed will be embrace imperfection, sibling love, don't let others steal your dream, be determined, and there is a stem back matter. Also, as I mentioned, it has multiple story structure. It talks about holiday concept. It has a lot of lyrical elements. Plus, it is also having a parallel structure.
I just feel the
So,
remote.
final thoughts. Well, there are no single way to structure a picture book.
Oh, no.
If you find the right structure, it will definitely impact your story and enhance it. So ask yourself what you're trying to achieve. Do you want to teach a concept or entertain the reader or share a message or solve a problem? Stay flexible, because story structure is just a tool. It helps you to bring your vision to life. And don't stress, because it's your story. Be creative and playful. So I have a challenge question for you all. So I would want you to tell me or guess what story structure have I used in my presentation. And the hint is I haven't talked about the story structure in the presentation. Anyone?
Why, yes, maybe informative nonfiction?
Uh, no.
Can you go back and show us
Yeah,
the list story structure?
sure.
Give us something to look at.
Yeah. So I started talking about me and how I became a reader from non-reader. Then the inspiration. Then I talked about story structures, different story structures. And then I showed, okay.
First person narrative?
F- no. And then I showed you what's the story behind the capuche and how I came to use a story structure in my story.
I guess we have to go to the post office and that should another sentence. 3 checks of 4,000, 300, whatever. It should be a signed thing.
Receipt of.
I think
Okay.
that Gail has not muted her. Gail, if you can hear this, can you mute your phone so that
So I think I can tell the answer. Okay. So it also has a traditional picture book, but it's mostly cause and effect, because when something happens and that leads to a consequence and chain of events. For example, if I hadn't read 5.7, I wouldn't have become reader. If I hadn't used that formula, I wouldn't help my son. If I hadn't missed the event, I wouldn't have gotten the idea for Kaipoche. If I hadn't participated in pitch event, which I didn't talk about, of course, I would not have gotten this editor like, because I almost missed this pitch event. I had thought, because I had already joined 3 pitch events and I didn't get any heart, so I was very disappointed. So I almost thought, okay, I should not participate, but in the last minute I did, and I got this editor heart. And then if I hadn't signed the contract, I wouldn't be a published author. So, and one picture book that falls in this structure is If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. That's a good book to check out. And thank you. That was my presentation. Please do participate in the Mighty Kid Challenge. We have lots of giveaways. And if you are planning to pre-order, do send me the receipt, and I can share the digital arc so that you can leave reviews. And if you have financial challenge, no issues. I would still love for your support if you can make library request, or you can create a free account on edelweiss.plus, where you can request the arc from the publisher, and then you can go ahead and leave the review. So that was from my side, and you can connect with me on social media, on Instagram at the Susan Cam, and website is www.thesusancam.com, and email is thesusancam@gmail.com. And thank you so much for listening to me patiently and giving me this opportunity. I hope I added some value here. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer, or else we will drop and join back again so that Devika can present it, because I think it's only 5 minutes left and I don't want to get disconnected in between her presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. This was really great.
Thank you, Michelle. So let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, so did you want us to go ahead and leave this Zoom, and then we'll come back in using the same invite, and then we'll
Sure.
have to, okay.
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. See you again.
Okay.